And this came together in what, 4 or 5 days? So absolutely amazing. It's great to see the support that John James has, and it's great to see the momentum that's building. We're hearing that the polls are tightening. We're looking good for governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General. We've got, what, 12 more days, 11 more days to go? 10. Yeah. Who's counting? Yeah. Anyway, it's great to know that these polls are tightening, and we've got an opportunity to pull off this year what we pulled off in 2016. So, I know all of you will be going out and voting if you haven't done the absentee ballot yet, but make sure you share with your friends. Get out there on election day and vote. We need all the votes we can get. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, this is awesome. Is anybody excited?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Do you have enough energy? All right. So the gentleman that's coming up next, I guarantee you has that energy. So we want to make sure when he comes up, we have that energy. 2009, I first took office, 15.5% unemployment here in Alpena. We're at 5.5% in Alpena today. Friends, Michigan has turned around. Michigan is on the right direction. If there's a man that's going to go to D.C., if there's a hero from Michigan that's going to go to D.C. with our General Bergman and make that difference, this is the man that's going to do that. And your support, your enthusiasm, your power is going to do that. So it's my honor and privilege to introduce our next United States Senator, John James.
Thank you. All right, so I got this funny little mic here. Is this for the okay. All right. So okay, I see. All right. So I'm not a politician, so I'm still used to this. But I will say that at what is it now? 9 o'clock? It's 9 o'clock on a Friday morning. Look at this. This is incredible. And so this is the thing. Being here in Alpena on a Friday morning, 10 days out, and you see the enthusiasm that we have to continue our positive momentum on this state, to make sure that everybody can compete and win in the state of Michigan. I'm looking out here and I'm extremely encouraged because I have the opportunity to be back in the 1st District. I have the opportunity to come back and look you in the face because I'll tell you what, I don't leave my family every day to beat Debbie Stabenow. I leave my family every day to serve. I leave my family every day to serve you. And seeing your faces out there reminds me what we have to do in Washington to make sure that we continue to protect the American dream and we continue to protect our Constitution. And it's an honor to stand with you to make that stand. Amen. We're living in some very interesting times. And as the world becomes a more and more dangerous place, I think that we need a combat veteran on the floor of the U.S. Senate who understands how to keep America safe. How many veterans do we have in the room? Raise your hands again, please. Oh my goodness, look at that. Please give our veterans a round of applause. Thank you all for your service. We have 670,000 veterans in this state. 670,000 veterans in this state, and we don't have a voice in the U.S. Senate. Senator Stabenow has actually admitted in front of a veteran service organization that she was unaware of our issues, that it wasn't on her radar screen. That's a dereliction of duty where we come from. How have we been at war for over a decade and a half? We ended the Vietnam War 50 years ago, officially. Officially, the Vietnam War ended in 1975. That was the same year that Senator Stabenow was first elected. We've been at war for a decade and a half, and we still haven't welcomed our Vietnam veterans back home properly. And she's unaware of our issues. She's unaware of veterans' homelessness. She's unaware of how the opioid crisis has disproportionately decimated our ranks. She's unfamiliar and unaware of veteran suicide issues. I say that's unacceptable. We need to have somebody on the floor of the U.S. Senate who understands our veterans, who will take care of them. Senator Stabenow actually voted against legislation that would have given $2.5 billion to disabled veterans. Remember that? And I'll tell you something else I remember. In 2006, she stood up on a debate stage and said that she witnessed conditions that our soldiers were living in 2006, on Memorial Day. And then in 2007, she voted against emergency funding for our troops who were serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, I know that because I was there. In 2007, right when we were deploying, she couldn't have our 6. Well, I'll tell you what, if you have my 6 on November 6th, I'll have your 6 for the next 6 years.
Yeah. Woo! I like that.
I'm a business leader. I'm a business leader who understands how to create jobs in the real world. Being a job creator is something that people talk about, politicians talk about, but few of them have experience actually doing it in the real world. Amen. I was actually able to help our family business grow from 35 million to 137 million and add over 100 jobs in Michigan and around the country, and understanding the role of regulations and legislation, the effect that it has right here at home. Whether you're in automotive, agriculture, mining, forestry, cement, I mean, whether you're doing anything around the state, you have people who are legislating and regulating industries, and they've never run a business before. Having no experience in business hurts business. And understanding that the business of Michigan is business is very crucial to have somebody there who recognizes that overregulation stifles job creation, stifles innovation, and we need to make sure that we're creating not only jobs but economic opportunity. We need and we must address income inequality, but the best way to address income inequality is to address opportunity inequality.
Amen.
Yeah.
We need to address early childhood development. We need to address K through 12 education to include skilled trades and vocational skills. We need to look at criminal justice reform. We need to look at the role of entrepreneurship and the weight that taxation and regulation puts on the ability for us to achieve the American dream. We need to do everything that we can to ensure that everybody can come up. We need to make sure, this is the thing, you may have heard me say, that the biggest barriers we face are because of failures of leadership, because of partisanship. I think that both parties have failed Michiganders. Both parties have failed the American people. And the establishments only can agree on what it takes to stay in power. We have too many people representing us in Washington who care more about getting reelected than representing us. And that needs to change on November 6th. One of the most important things to me, and in parallel to taking care of our veterans, is health care. We all need health care. It's crucial. It's crucial that we fix this. And this is where both parties have failed. How do you come out, Nancy Pelosi, and say we need to pass it to see what's in it? How is it that the last president could say, if you like your doctor, you can keep him. If you like your plan, you can keep it. And then it ends up being a lie, and it hurts the American people, and our premiums go up. But then the Republicans, not much better, talk about repealing and replacing for 2 years and then come to the table with no plan. Both parties have failed. We need to have people who are committed to getting solutions and won't bow to the political pressure and will get it done. I will work with anyone and everyone to get it done. I don't care what party you're in. If you are a human being in this state, we need to have a market-based, patient-centered approach that covers pre-existing conditions. We need to have tort and regulatory reform that lowers cost, increases transparency, it increases competition so that patients and doctors are empowered, not the federal government and insurance companies. What Senator Stabenow is proposing would bankrupt our children's futures and send our seniors to the back of the bus today. That is unacceptable. We need to make sure that we're doing things the right way and being compassionate conservatives, because we have an obligation to make sure that future generations can have the American dream as well. I'm so excited because we have an opportunity right now. If you take a look at the choice that's in front of us, you have Senator Stabenow, someone who's been an elected official for 43 years, who's collected $4 million from the taxpayers in that time. Someone who bags on the president when the president has been in the Washington for around 20 months. Senator Stabenow has been in Washington for 20 years. And who's gotten more done? You have Senator Stabenow. You have Senator Stabenow, who has gotten 5 bills passed, her co-sponsored bills passed, into law in 18 years. You want to tell me what I've been doing the past 18 years? The past 18 years, I've graduated from high school. I went to West Point, graduated in 2004, became a Ranger qualified Apache pilot, flew 750 hours combat in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and brought all of my men and all of my aircraft back home safely. I went to work in the family business to create economic opportunity and help create jobs in Detroit and to serve in my community. And I was able to help grow our company by 233% and help provide better futures for 100 families and more. I was able to marry a beautiful, patient, and amazing woman who gave me 2 little boys, John 5, Hudson 3, and 1 more on the way. I was able to, yeah, give her a round of applause. Got 2 master's degrees, 1 from Penn State, 1 from University of Michigan, go blue, and in that same time frame, in 18 years, Senator Stabenow has only been able to get 5 bills that she's written into law. In that same time frame, in the year 2000, she said she was going to fix our schools by 2010. And we have some of the worst schools in the nation right now. In 2002, she said she was going to lower our pharmaceutical drug prices. And our pharmaceutical drug costs have still skyrocketed through the roof. But it's okay, it's an election year, and she can come out with some legislation in May to try to make you forget her dereliction of duty for the past 18 years. Right. But you know what? Not only have our prescription drug prices not gone down when she pledged her leadership to doing it, but she's taken almost $400,000 from pill-pushing lobbyists over her career, which have gotten doctors to overprescribe opioids. And you know what? Michigan just set a record this year in opioid deaths.
Oh, man.
That happened on her watch. In 2002, she committed to helping fix these problems. And so when she gets in front of a camera and tells you what she's going to do, in the debate, I don't know how many of you saw it, but I asked her to her face. I said, Senator, why should we believe you this time? And I said, for all the things that she says she's doing now, what took you so long? She's been talking about the Great Lakes for 43 years. There's Asian carp DNA in the Chicago River. There are algae blooms in the Erie. And they're dumping waste into Lake St. Clair in the Huron. At some point, we're going to have to do something about this. And she likes to talk about getting Great Lakes funding. Well, because of her neglect over 43 years, we need more, not just being satisfied with getting it to the levels that we need. We need to address PFAS now. And I believe the funding we're getting for our Great Lakes is table stakes. We need to work with anyone and everyone to increase that funding to make sure that we're not going to be surrounded by water that's toxic in a generation. I don't make very many promises, but I love our Great Lakes too much to stand by and allow this neglect to continue. I don't make very many promises. But I promise you, if Senator Stabenow gets reelected, our children will be surrounded by water they can't drink or swim in. Take a look at her record and where it's been since she started 43 years ago. And look at where we are now. Extrapolate that out to the future and ask yourself, will you have a better future with somebody who's failed categorically over the next 18 years, or someone who spent the last 18 years serving before self? I believe that I present a better and brighter future for the state of Michigan. I believe that we have too many people in Washington, like Senator Stabenow, who are legislating futures they're not going to be a part of. I believe that we need a fresh perspective, a passion for service, and a clarity of vision in Washington, and someone who will represent Michigan's issues in Washington, not Washington's issues in Michigan. We have the momentum. And you know why? So this is great. This is wonderful. And I'm going to give you some numbers because I like facts. And I was raised in a world where, my goodness, I was raised in a world where we were entitled to our own opinions, but not our own facts. But now the progressive Marxists out on the left are telling us that we're entitled to our own facts, but not our own opinions. So yeah, it's weird, right? So check this out. Here's the facts. Here are the facts. Last quarter, we in this room outraised Debbie Stabenow 2-1. Our 3.6 to her 1.8. Thank you. From October 1st to October 17th, we raised $2 million. You know how much she raised? $471,000. We have closed the gap. You and our grassroots army, because of your excitement since this thing started, because of your fervor, because of your support, and because of your prayers, because of your love, because of you knocking on doors, because of you collecting signatures, because of you doing what you do each and every single day behind closed doors, making phone calls, standing out in the rain and the snow, because you went out there and are stumping for a better future, we have been able to close this gap from 23 down to 7 points down. But guess what? Don't even believe, not just yet, because guess what? There's more. Because guess what? Deplorables don't poll, we vote. That number is closer than they even think. And you know who else knows that? Debbie Stabenow. She recognizes that we have erased her money advantage in the last few weeks. And that is why they have to call President Obama in Detroit right now, here today. Senator Stabenow can't win on her record, and she knows it. And so she's trying to get President Obama to stump for her, to remind people in Detroit, or try to remind them, that Debbie Stabenow still cares. Well, take a look at what's going on in Detroit, where folks in Detroit remember the civil rights movement. Folks here remember it. Folks all over the state recognize and understand that it's not about black or white, it's about red, white, and blue. Amen. People understand all over this state that Detroit is the most segregated city in the country. There are folks have been rebelling from Baltimore to Watts, have been marching from Selma to Detroit, and very little has changed for too many people in Detroit. President Obama is stumping for Debbie Stabenow blocks away from where I went to elementary school. There are too many people in these areas who don't have the opportunity that I had. My father was able to move me out to a better school, to give me better opportunities, but I'm here for the people who don't have those opportunities. We already have school choice. Debbie Stabenow wants to rail against school choice and Betsy DeVos. But we already have school choice because of her neglect. But the only people who have choice are the people who are able to move their children to better zip codes. That's wrong. We need to address opportunity inequality by removing the shackles of dependency away from the people who need our help the most. I don't care what color you are. On one of our forgotten farms in rural areas, or our neglected neighborhoods, I don't forget when rural whites were called deplorable. And I don't forget when urban blacks were dismissed as disposable. We must have a better solution regardless of what we look like, how we think, or where we come from. And as a military officer, I didn't fight for Democrats or Republicans. I fought for Americans. And that will continue when I get to Washington. So thank you all for being here. I love you. God bless you. Keep the energy up 10 days, and we're going to win this thing by the grace of God. Thank you so much. Let's go.